There are some among you who have asked why you feel so alone, why the weight of life feels like it presses more on your soul than on others. You sit in rooms full of people and yet feel like a stranger. You serve, you love, you give, and still the silence around you is deafening. Listen closely. This is not a sign of abandonment. It is a mark upon your life. You have been set apart. The chosen ones of God are not celebrated by the world. They are not always embraced even by the church, and that is because they do not belong to this world. They've been ruined for it. There is a cost to walking with God, and many want the crown, but they flee from the cross. The chosen do not have that luxury. They are broken because they must be. They are lonely because their fellowship is not of this earth. They walk through fire because God intends to use them for purposes no one else understands. When the Lord sets his hand upon a man or woman, he begins by tearing down everything in them that does not reflect him. Your plans gone, your pride shattered, your comforts removed, not out of cruelty, but out of divine mercy. God will not share his glory with another, and so he breaks the vessel so that it may be remade in the image of his Son. This world cherishes strength, charisma, charm, but God looks for those who will be weak enough to depend entirely on him. That is why the chosen feel crushed. It is why they cry out in the night when no one sees, because he is stripping them of every false identity, every crutch, every idol. So when they stand in his power alone. Don't think you are forgotten because you are in the shadows. Some of God's greatest work is done in silence. Joseph was prepared in a prison. Moses was called from a desert. David was shaped in caves. The loneliness you feel is not evidence of God's absence. It is the proof of his nearness. He is closer in the wilderness than on the mountaintop, and if you are broken, rejoice, for only broken bread can feed the hungry. Only crushed grapes produce wine. If you are chosen, expect the fire, but know this. It is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to purify you. You are not alone. You are being shaped. Stay on the altar. He is not done with you yet. Being chosen by God often involves a path of suffering and separation. This is a truth that many overlook because the modern idea of being chosen is frequently linked to favor, success, or elevation in the eyes of men. But in the biblical pattern, being chosen is rarely accompanied by applause. It is marked by tears, trials, and a deep sense of otherness. God does not choose men and women to make them popular. He chooses them to conform them to the image of his Son, and that process is painful. It involves the stripping away of everything that does not resemble Christ. When God sets his love upon someone and calls them for a holy purpose, he begins a work in them that separates them from the world, and even from their own desires. To be chosen is to be pulled out from the crowd and placed into the furnace of sanctification. It's to walk a narrow road that few find and fewer are willing to stay on. That narrow road is filled with valleys, with tests, with seasons where it seems like heaven is silent. And yet, it is in those very moments that God is doing his deepest work. He allows the chosen ones to feel the sting of rejection, the ache of loneliness, the burden of waiting, because through it all, he is drawing them into himself. Their identity is no longer anchored in what others think or even what they feel. It becomes rooted in who God is and who he is shaping them to be. When you are chosen by God, you cannot be satisfied with the things that used to fulfill you. What once brought joy now feels empty. What once excited the heart now leaves a hollow ring. That is because you are being changed. You are being transformed. And transformation always comes with tension. There is a shedding, a cutting away of the old nature, and it hurts, but it is necessary. God cannot use a person fully until he has brought them to the end of themselves. This is why the chosen feel such deep sorrow at times. It is the death of the flesh, the dismantling of pride, the slow unraveling of their own will. God's purpose in choosing someone is not merely to bless them, it is to use them. And to be used by God, you must be emptied of self. That emptying comes through affliction. It comes through the loss of things and people you thought you couldn't live without. It comes through prayers that go unanswered, not because God is ignoring you, but because He is teaching you to trust Him even when He is silent. The chosen ones are not always the most gifted or the most visible. They are the ones who, in the secret place, have wept bitterly, cried out to a God they could not see, and still obeyed when it made no sense. To be chosen is a calling to carry the weight of God's heart, to weep over the things He weeps over, to stand in the gap when no one else will. It is to suffer with Christ so that we may also reign with Him. Loneliness is not a curse, but a refining fire used by God to draw His servants closer to Him. In a world that constantly chases connection, affirmation, and community, the pain of isolation can feel unbearable. But when God calls someone for Himself, He often leads them first into a place of solitude. This is not an accident. It is not punishment. It is preparation. God removes every distraction, every crutch, every voice, so that the chosen soul can learn to recognize His voice alone. This loneliness is not void of meaning. It is filled with divine intention. It is where character is formed, where motives are purified, and where dependence on man is replaced by intimacy with God. Many cry out in their isolation, asking God, "Why am I alone?" But the real question heaven answers is this: are you willing to be alone with me? Because until God becomes enough, nothing else will be. In the quiet, in the stillness, He reveals His nature. In the hidden places, He exposes the heart. When everything else is stripped away, friends, platforms, recognition, it is then that God becomes your portion, your treasure, your all. You learn to pray differently, not to be seen, not to impress, but to survive. You stop speaking with eloquence and start groaning from your spirit. You learn to lean not on theology alone, but on the God of that theology. You begin to discover that loneliness is the birthplace of true communion with the Lord. Those whom God uses greatly, He often isolates deeply. It is in the wilderness that Moses encountered the burning bush. It is in the cave that Elijah heard the still small voice. It is in the prison that Joseph's dream was refined. And it was on the cross, abandoned and scorned, that Jesus accomplished the will of the Father. Do not despise your lonely place. It is holy ground. It is not where God has forgotten you. It is where He is forming you. The problem is, we often interpret loneliness as rejection. But in the kingdom of God, it is not rejection. It is redirection. God pulls you away from people so that He can give you a burden for people. He silences the noise around you so He can stir a fire within you. That fire will never burn if it is always surrounded by the comfort of man. Only in the secret place, in the painful quiet, does the oil begin to flow. The oil that breaks yokes, the oil that anoints, the oil that marks. If you are walking through loneliness, do not run from it. Do not numb it. Let it do its work. Let it purify your heart. Let it lead you deeper into the presence of God. There are revelations that can only be received in isolation. There are assignments that can only be birthed in silence. There is strength that is only forged in weakness. Loneliness, when submitted to God, becomes the very path to power. It is not the absence of His love. It is the evidence of His call. The world does not understand those set apart for divine purposes, causing deep isolation. When God places His hand upon a person, marking them for something holy, something eternal, the world around them cannot comprehend it. There is a spiritual disconnect, a separation that cannot be bridged by mere words or gestures. Friends drift away, relationships grow strained, and even those within the church may begin to look at the chosen one with suspicion or confusion. This is not because the chosen are better, but because they are different, called to walk in a direction that cuts across the grain of the world's values and ambitions. There is a weight to being misunderstood. The chosen often feel like strangers even among believers. They speak, but others do not hear the depth behind their words. They see through things that others celebrate. They are grieved by what others laugh at. Their hearts beat to a rhythm not of this world, and that difference becomes both their strength and their burden. Many times they are accused of being too intense, too serious, too radical, but they cannot help it. The fire of God burns in their bones. They carry a vision that has not been given to those around them, and so they walk with a limp, wrestling with the tension between divine calling and earthly rejection. Even Jesus, the sinless Son of God, was despised and rejected by men. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. Why should his servants expect anything different? The more you are conformed to the image of Christ, the more the world will treat you as it treated him. That includes misunderstanding, mockery, abandonment, and betrayal. The chosen do not belong to this world. They are in it, but not of it. And because they do not fit into its mold, they are often left out, looked over, or even cast aside. This is the loneliness of being consecrated, but in that loneliness God does something precious. He teaches the chosen to find their worth not in the approval of man, but in the eyes of the one who called them. He shows them how fleeting and shallow the praises of people can be, and how steady and eternal his love remains. When everyone else walks away, he stays. When no one else understands, he does. And in that companionship with God, the chosen begin to walk in a deeper authority, not given by men, but bestowed by heaven. This world will never celebrate what it cannot understand. It will never honor those who walk according to a kingdom it cannot see. So, if you are walking in obedience and still find yourself isolated, do not be disheartened. That isolation is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are no longer being shaped by the world, but by the hand of God. The very things that set you apart are the things he intends to use for his glory. Let the misunderstanding come. Let the rejection happen. What matters most is not being known by men, but being known by God. Brokenness is necessary for the vessel to be used for God's glory. Pride cannot remain. God does not use strong men and women in the way the world understands strength. He uses those who have been emptied, crushed, and humbled under the weight of his hand. The ones he raises up are not those who boast in their achievements, but those who tremble before his holiness. Before God entrusts a person with his power or his message, he brings them to a place of deep breaking. This is not cruelty, it is mercy. For what we build in pride, we will destroy in pride. But what is forged in brokenness, God upholds by grace. When a person is broken by God, it is not a single moment. It is a process. It may come through the loss of dreams, the collapse of plans, or the exposure of hidden sin. It can be through betrayal, failure, or painful correction. Whatever form it takes, the purpose is the same, to destroy the illusion of self-sufficiency. Pride whispers, "You can do this on your own." Brokenness answers, "I am nothing without him." And this is where God does his most glorious work. He does not dwell in the high and lofty heart. He dwells with the one who is contrite and lowly in spirit. Pride is subtle. It can wear religious clothes and quote scripture. It can sing worship songs and serve in ministry, all while quietly exalting the self. That is why God must deal with it so severely. He cannot pour his Spirit into a vessel that still seeks to glorify itself, so he breaks it, not to discard it, but to remake it. He shatters the outer shell so that his light might shine from within. Just as the alabaster box had to be broken for the fragrance to fill the room, so the life must be broken for Christ to be revealed. This is why many who are called by God find themselves in seasons of great anguish. They are not being punished, they are being purified. God is answering their prayers, not in the way they expected, but in the way that is needed. They ask to be used, and God is preparing them. He is stripping away every ounce of self-glory, every desire to be seen, every motive that does not align with his will, and though it hurts, it is love. He disciplines those he loves. He breaks those he will trust. The world applauds the self-made, the confident, the capable, but in the kingdom of God the greatest are the least, and the strongest are those who have been made weak. Only the broken know how to handle glory, because they know it is not theirs. Only the broken can weep for others, because they have wept alone with God. Only the broken walk carefully, because they remember what it felt like to fall. This is not a disqualification, it is preparation. God is near to the broken-hearted. He binds up their wounds, and through their scars his glory shines. True strength is forged in seasons of darkness, not comfort. It is not during moments of ease or applause that the character of a man or woman is built. Strength that endures, strength that carries weight in the spiritual realm, is born in the hidden places, where no one sees, where prayers go unanswered, where silence stretches long and pain cuts deep. These are the places where God does his most transformative work. The flesh resists it, the mind cannot comprehend it, but the spirit is refined by it, for it is in the valleys that faith is tested and proven real. The ones God uses in power are not the ones who have lived smooth, uninterrupted lives. They are the ones who have been through storms and have refused to let go of his hand. They have walked through dark nights where all natural light failed, and still they believed. They did not gain their strength by reading books or quoting verses alone. They gained it by living in desperate dependence on God when all other support systems collapsed. They cried out, not as a religious routine, but as their only hope. And it was there, in that desperation, that God met them, not always with immediate answers, but always with himself. Seasons of darkness reveal the truth about what we really believe. When there is no breakthrough, no healing, no open door, do we still trust him? When we feel forgotten, when the pain doesn't lift, when the miracle doesn't come, do we still say, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him"? That is the kind of strength God is after, not strength that impresses others, but strength that clings to the cross when all else is lost. Strength that comes from broken places, from wrestlings in the night, from pressing forward when quitting would be easier. Comfort never demands that kind of endurance. It never confronts the idols of the heart. But darkness does. It exposes what is weak, what is false, what is temporary. And then, through that exposure, God builds something new. He places steel in your spine, tenderness in your heart, and fire in your prayers. You become a threat to the enemy not because of your charisma, but because of your history with God. You've bled, you've wept, and you've stood. That cannot be faked. It cannot be manufactured. It can only be forged. Those who emerge from these dark seasons do not walk the same. They carry something eternal. They may not speak loudly, but their words have weight. They may not be seen by the crowd, but they are known in heaven. This strength, real strength, is not measured by how much you can achieve, but by how much you can endure while still loving God. It is not proven on the mountaintop, but in the valley. And those valleys, those nights of wrestling and wondering, are not wasted. They are sacred, for it is in those moments that you are not just surviving, you are being shaped, and what is shaped in the dark will shine in the light. So if you find yourself lonely, misunderstood, broken, and walking through the fire, do not despise it. You are not forgotten, you are being forged. The chosen are not chosen for ease, but for impact. God is not building a life of comfort in you. He is building a life of consecration, one that hell fears and heaven empowers. Let the crushing continue, let the silence stretch, because what God is doing in you now will echo into eternity. Stay faithful, stay on the altar. The fire that hurts today is the very fire that marks you for his glory. You were never called to blend in. You were called to burn.